Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtottara Shatashi Srimad Swaminga Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopakavana Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Kundavanamai Ki Jai. Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai. Bhakti Dev Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai. Nigovardhan Dham Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru, Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yes. All right, great. We have a book in the. Maybe you could get that book, Glenn. In the audio room, I put it there because we use that book often. So today is the appearance of JagadishaPandita, and if you don't know who JagadishaPandita is, we're going to read about him right now. So you'll find out. What verse is it? Verse 4 21:45. Canto 4, Creation of the Fourth Order, Chapter 21, Instructions by Maharaj Prithu, Text 45. Before we read that verse, we'll read about JagadishaPandita. JagadishaPandita. Jagadish 91. Prabhupada said about flower garlands, he said one time he was wearing a flower garland, he said the flowers are very soft. And he said that wearing them, your heart will become soft. So that's what I'm hoping for. So this is JagadishaPandita. JagadishaPandita was the savior of the world. He was a monsoon cloud of Krishna Prem, pouring showers of mercy upon everyone. JagadishaPandita and his brother, Mahesh, lived near Jagannath Mishra in Sridham Mayapur. One Ekadashi day, baby Nimai was crying constantly. He stopped after taking Mahaprasadam rice in JagadishaPandita's home. Then Nimai performed a miracle. JagadishaPandita swooned in ecstasy upon seeing baby Gauranga manifest a beautiful form with a monsoon cloud blue complexion, shining like lightning and adorned with a shimmering peacock feather. After moving to Sri Kshetradham, Jagannath Puri, Lord Gaurachandra asked Jagadish to come help spread the Harinam Sankirtan movement. Taking Lord Jagannath's permission, JagadishaPandita took a deity of Jagannath back to Nadia to worship in his village of Yashore. In Krishna's Nitya Leela, JagadishaPandita serves as the dancer, Chandrahasa, or a Nagapatni wife of Kaliya. Hasa? Well, the problem is that they don't have any critics in this book. So, Chandrahasa. Which, yeah, it's difficult sometimes when devotees put together books and there's no critics. There's a few books like that out there. I don't necessarily, yeah. Okay, so, JagadishaPandita ki jai. So is everybody ready for the verse? You have the verse? 4:21:45. Maitre Vacha. Yes. Iti Bruvanam Nirpatim Pitrideva Dvijatayaha Tishtu Vorharishta Manasa Sadhu Vadena Sadavaha Maitre Vacha Iti Bruvanam Nripatim Pitrideva Dvijatayaha Tishtu Vorharishta Manasa Sadhu Vadena Sadavaha Maitre Vacha Iti Bruvanam Nripatim Pitrideva Dvijatayaha Tushtuvorhishta Manasa Sadhuvadena Sadavaha. Translation. The great sage Maitreya Vacha. The great sage Maitreya continued to speak. Iti. Thus. Bhuvanam. While speaking. Nripatim. The king. Pitri. The denizens of the Prithvi Loka. Deva. The demigods. Dvijatayaha. And the twice born. The Brahmins and the Vaishnavas. Tushtuvuhu. Satisfied. Krishna Manasaha. Greatly pacified in mind. Sadhuvadena. By expressing congratulations. Sadhavaha. All the saintly persons present. Translation. The great Maitreya said, The great sage Maitreya said, after hearing King Prithu speak so nicely, all the demigods, the denizens of Pitri-loka, the Brahmins, and the saintly persons present at the meeting congratulated him by expressing their goodwill. Purport. When a person speaks very nicely at a meeting, he is congratulated by the audience, who express their goodwill with the words sadhu sadhu. This is called sadhuvada. All the saintly persons, Pitas, denizens of Pitri-loka, and the demigods who were present at the meeting and heard Prithu Maharaj expressed their goodwill with the words sadhu sadhu. They all accepted the good mission of Prithu Maharaj, and they were fully satisfied. Okay, read on. Putena jaita lokan iti satyavati shutihi brahma danda hata papo yadvinota tarattamaha. They all declared that the Vedic conclusion that one can conquer the heavenly planets by the action of a putra or son was fulfilled. For the most sinful Vena, who had been killed by the curse of the Brahmins, was now delivered from the darkest region of hellish life by his son, Maharaj Prithu. Purport. According to the Vedic version, there is a hellish planet called Put, and one who delivers a person from there is called Putra. The purpose of marriage, therefore, is to have a Putra, or son who is able to deliver his father, even if the father falls down to the hellish condition of Put. Maharaj Prithu's father, Vena, was a most sinful person and was therefore cursed to death by the Brahmins. Now all the great saintly persons, sages and Brahmins present in the meeting, after hearing from Maharaj Prithu about his great mission in life, became convinced that the statement of the Vedas had been fully proved. The purpose of accepting a wife in religious marriage as sanctioned in the Vedas is to have a putra, a son qualified to deliver his father from the darkest region of hellish life. Marriage is not intended for sense gratification, but for getting a son fully qualified to deliver his father. But if a son is raised to become an unqualified demon, how can he deliver his father from hellish life? It is therefore the duty of a father to become a Vaishnav and raise his children to become Vaishnavs. Then if by chance the father falls into a hellish life in his next birth, such a son can deliver him, as Maharaj Prithu delivered his father. Okay, read one more. Hiranyakashipushchapi bhagavan nindayatamaha vivikshor adhigaksh suno praladasyanubhavataha. Similarly, Hiranyakashipu, who by dint of his sinful activities always defied the supremacy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, entered into the darkest region of hellish life. But by the grace of his great son, Prahlad Maharaj, he also was delivered and went back home, back to Godhead. Purport. When Prahlad Maharaj was offered benediction by Nrsingadev, due to his great devotion and tolerance, he refused to accept any benediction from the Lord, thinking that such acceptance was not befitting a sincere devotee. The rendering of service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in expectation of a good reward is deprecated by Prahlad Maharaj as mercantile business. Because Prahlad Maharaj was a Vaishnav, he did not ask a benediction for his personal self, but was very affectionate toward his father. Although his father tortured him and would have killed him had he himself not been killed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Prahlad Maharaj begged pardon for him from the Lord. This favor was immediately granted by the Lord, and Hiranyakashipu was delivered from the darkest region of hellish life, and he returned back home, back to Godhead, by the grace of his son. Prahlad Maharaj is the topmost example of a Vaishnav, who is always compassionate towards sinful persons suffering a hellish life within this material world. Krishna is therefore known as Paradukka Dukki, Kripam Buddhi, or one who is compassionate towards others suffering and who is an ocean of mercy. Like Prahlad Maharaj, all pure devotees of the Lord come to this material world with full compassion to deliver the sinful. They undergo all kinds of tribulations, suffering them with tolerance, because that is another qualification of a Vaishnav, who tries to deliver all sinful persons from the hellish conditions of material existence. Vaishnavas are therefore offered the following prayer. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. The chief concern of a Vaishnava is to deliver the fallen souls. Om Agyanitaparandasya Gananjana Shavakaya Chakshudmadhitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karidavachalam Pankam Langayate Girim Yakripatamaham Vande Shri Gurunditanam Vanshakabudirbhishcha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasvi Gaura Bhaktivinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So there's a purpose behind the creation of everything, and an intelligent person will want to know what is the purpose behind things. Intelligent person, fortunate person will want to know the purpose behind things, and behind everything, and then to use those things and everything in the right way. So, and they will strive for that. That's first they want to know, and then after knowing, they'll strive for that. So, here it's being mentioned. Prithu Maharaj is being mentioned with and his father Vena is also being mentioned. The most sinful Vena. So Vena we've heard about him in previous chapters. He's a very sinful king, very demonic personality. But due to Prithu Maharaj being such a good son, it says here that Vena was delivered from hellish sinful life. Delivered from the darkest region of hellish life by his son Maharaj Prithu. So this is, you could say this is the mercy of Maharaj Prithu being a great devotee, a great Vaishnava, that even though his father was disqualified in so many ways, still, because he was such a great devotee, Vena was delivered. So if one is a parent and they have a qualified son or daughter, then that is their great fortune. That is their great fortune. Like Srila Prabhupada in the pastime of Dhruva Maharaj was extremely qualified son, and eventually Dhruva Maharaj was going back to Godhead, and it said that he was on some type of vimana, some type of airplane going back to Godhead with the Vishnu Dutas there, right next to him. And Prithu and Dhruva Maharaj, he was wanting, oh, where's my mother? And then he looked back, and then he saw, oh, your mother, she was on another plane. They were both going back to Godhead. She was on another plane. And he was thinking, oh, my mother, she helped me so much, and how can I go back to Godhead without her? So, of course, Dhruva Maharaj's mother was, I'm sure, qualified in many ways. But the sense we get from that pastime is that even if she wasn't fully qualified, because Dhruva Maharaj wanted her to go back to Godhead, she did. So the prayers or the wishes of Vaishnavas are actually extremely important, extremely beneficial, and actually, in the Nectar Devotion it says that is one of the ways that we could get blessings from Vaishnavas, is that having their good wishes. Which is interesting. It says there's different ways you could get mercy. One, it says by their good wishes. One, it says by their glance, which is pretty interesting. Glance of a Vaishnava. So these have different, you could say, powerful effects on the person who receives them. So yeah, it's actually quite amazing that Vena, I mean, he was really terrible person, but still, by Prithu Maharaj's mercy, he was delivered from hellish conditions. Absolutely amazing. And Prabhupada says that this is the purpose of marriage life or household life, is that one becomes married, if they become married. They don't have to become married, but a lot of people do. Then they should try to have qualified children. Qualified sons, specifically, it says here. But having qualified children, a lot of the times, of course not in this case with Vena and Prithu, because Vena was not qualified at all, but still had such a qualified son, but a lot of the times, in order to have qualified children, in spiritually advanced children, the parents have to be spiritually advanced. Or because the consciousness of the parents attracts a particular type of soul to take birth in that family. So the parents they should try to be advanced, to attract advanced souls. And so if one's not really trying to be advanced, or one's not advanced, then there's no surprise that one may attract some souls that maybe aren't so qualified. That's just kind of how it goes. But still, nonetheless, I mean, you never know, because whether someone is very spiritually qualified or not, sometimes, the souls go different ways. Like some of our acharyas, some of our teachers, even in Chaitanya Leela, their children were not on their level or close to their level. Actually, quite the contrary. And sometimes you have very good parents, very Krishna-conscious parents, and they attract, that's the same point, that they attract souls that aren't so advanced. But sometimes you get souls that aren't very spiritually qualified, very advanced, and they attract their children become very good. They become pure devotees. They become very good. So So it's hard to tell, which way a soul's going to go. But anyways, this is here that the purpose is grihastha ashram, have children, have nice Krishna conscious children, and in some religions they really push this point, like within the Latter-day Saints. People call them the Mormons. That's kind of like a slang actually, because their book is called the Book of Mormon, so people just call them the Mormons. But they're the what do you call them? Latter-day Saints. So they have this idea that you get married and you have a lot of children. Why? Because one of the ideas is that you bring God-conscious children into this world, and then hopefully they could preach, and they could spread the message of God, and we could have more members in our church, naturally, right? And they actually do this. That's actually quite impressive. Now, I don't agree with everything they stand for, means philosophically. There's some things that I don't agree with, and that, not just me, that the philosophy of Gaudiya Vaishnava doesn't agree with. But they have some good ideas. And Srila Prabhupada said that we could learn from anybody, and we could take gold from a filthy place. Not saying that that's a filthy place, but even the most filthy place you could take gold from. And we could learn from different groups how to spread Krishna consciousness. For example, when they have children, they have sons and daughters, what they do is that when the sons and daughters become a particular age, they are encouraged heavily encouraged. And if they don't do it, it's like taboo, it's weird, it's like a cultural it's a problem, if they don't do this, what I'm about to say, and that is that they have their sons and daughters become missionaries. And they're real missionaries. It's not just like, we say missionaries and preachers. No, they're actually missionaries. They're called missionaries because they're actual missionaries. And how are they missionaries is that for 2 years, which you could say, okay, it's not that long, but something. And so many of them do it, like the children, so many of them do it. So, for 2 years, the sons, the daughters, they become missionaries, and they live together in an apartment, and they have it all mapped out. You go to their churches, and inside their lobby, there is a map of the world. All of their churches, there's a map of the world, and you go there, and then there's little pins, what do they call those? Tack pins? Push pin? Yeah, there's push pins. Oh, push pin in Australia, push pin in China, Hong Kong, not China, push pin in Hong Kong, push pin here. And then they have pictures of the different missionaries. This is our boy, our local SanDiego boy, and SanDiego girl, the boys are together, girls they're not together, they're separate, like Brahmacharya, Brahmacharini, they're together in a group, men and women separate. And they teach them the language and everything. They teach them, now you're going to go to here, there, and they teach them a specific language. They send them out there with the books of Mormon, and they go knock on everybody's door, on their bicycles, wearing their suits. Knock, knock, knock. And they say, oh, hello, how are you? And we're Mormons. Would you like to hear about the message of Jesus Christ and this and that, and we could have studies with you? And somehow or other, people think they're nice and friendly, and they say, okay, yeah, sure, I'll hear what you have to say. I'll sit here with you. And some people become converted like that. And then, because of all of that 2 years of service, the church really, they have, somehow or other, they've worked it out financially, that they send those missionaries to college, and they marriage, and everything's kind of worked out. So it's an impetus that, okay, hey, I preach for 2 years, and then I'll be set up, yeah. And their family life goes on like that. So it's a good idea, actually. I mean, imagine if everyone within our congregation, all the young men and women, they, when they hit 18 or something, they joining the ashram for 2 years, and specifically for missionary purposes. Be quite amazing. What was that? Yeah, we need a bigger ashram. And yeah, in many ways they're pious, good. I mean, they helped out with our Spanish Fork temple, build that big temple in Utah and Salt Lake City. Many of them became Hare Krishna. So yeah, but yeah, my point is that they have this idea that, okay, we're going to have marriage life, and in marriage life we're going to have children, and when they become a certain age we're going to send them out to preach, and they do it. So even if they're not the ideas we don't agree with, but they have good ideas in terms of preaching, that's for sure. So if and then within Islam they have an idea, okay, we're going to get married and we're going to have children, and we're going to train them up to be good law-abiding Muslims, and and preach. Some of them preach. I mean, Mormons, I think it's more organized preaching, but so this is there, and within Krishna consciousness is also there, that, okay, you want to get married, then have children, and train them up to be Vaishnavas, and ideally train them up to preach. So yeah, these ideas are there. Now, if someone's a grihasta, then they should consider these things, and if someone is not a grihasta, then they could talk about it, like I am. I could maybe encourage people to think about these things. But whatever the case is, whether one's a brahmachari, grihasta, or vanaprastha, or whoever they are, the idea is to be Krishna conscious and to spread Krishna consciousness somehow or other, to work it out. And going back to the Mormon, to the Latter-day Saints, Mormons, yeah, they're very organized. It's absolutely amazing. And like I said again, in every single church they have maps with push pins and people they're sending out, learning languages, so many things. It's amazing. So in our own way, we're here in SanDiego. We're part of the Hare Krishna SanDiego Temple. So in our own way, we could be organized. We can. And not just be organized, but we could be out in the public, present. In other words, people should know of us. They shouldn't think we're dead. They should know of us. So that means posters. There needs to be systematic, strategic, like in war. There's strategic planning to specifically target the opponents, where they are, where they're located, and attack. So similarly, there has to be strategic planning for everything. For putting up posters, for example, there should be strategic, organized planning. Where are the best locations? Who could do it? How often they do it? How often they check? And there should always be posters up within SanDiego, Krishna Lounge posters, Krishna Fest posters. Same with book distribution. There should be strategic plan. Where are the best places? Who can go out? Try to encourage more and more. Door to door, store to store. People should know about us. Like Suvas Prabhu was saying one time, he said that he was I think he was in Colorado, and there's like I don't know, 3 devotees in the temple or something. We have a little more than 3, but he was saying that when he would go out, people would think, man, there's so many of you guys. I see you guys everywhere. You're at the colleges. You're here. You're there. Store. I see you guys everywhere. And he said there must be hundreds of you. And then Suvas Prabhu told the person, "Oh no, there's not 100. There's only 3 of us." Yeah. So that just goes to say that they're really out there. And nicely, I heard the other day, I was talking to someone in the lounge, and they said They say, oh yeah, I see you guys everywhere. I see you at Balboa, I see you at the colleges, I see you here, I see you there, I see you everywhere. So I said, oh, that's nice. And I told him that we're going to increase. We're going to increase our presence. So yeah, that's important, because again, we don't want people to think we've gone extinct or something, like we're dead and gone. We want them to know we're present. And there's a side point where Prabhupada, when he was in Jew, he was telling devotees how to deal with the life members, and he said there should be a newsletter sent out every month. And then Prabhupada said, lest they think we're dead. So there should be a newsletter to tell them what we're doing. So yeah, Prithu Maharaj was delivered by his father. Venu Maharaj was delivered by his father. Vena's son, Prithu Maharaj, delivered his father. Yeah. So similarly, amazing thing is that Hiranyakashipu, it says in the next verse, was delivered from hellish sinful life by Prahlad Maharaj, which is absolutely amazing, because Hiranyakashipu was he's like the archetypical demoniac father, and he was the worst of the worst. You know, like in prisons, they have the worst of the worst. Means that there's the small guys, or the small fries, or so-called small fries, and then there's people who really do heinous crimes. And even the prisoners don't like such people. Like people who abuse children, they say that within the prison system, those guys even the prisoners don't like them, because they're just seen as such animals. So Hiranyakashipu was the demon of all. He was like the king of demons, and such a terrible person, the most terrible. And he tried to kill his son. He was actually the supreme child abuser, abusing Prahlad Maharaj, trying to torture him, kill him in so many different ways, right? By fire, by boiling oil, by this way, by that way. Practically every single way you could think of, you could try to kill someone, he was trying to do that. And still, Prahlad Maharaj, as a Vaishnav, Nrsingadev asked him, what do you want from me, Prahlad Maharaj? And Prahlad Maharaj said, I don't want anything from you, because I'm not a businessman. I'm not a mercantile businessman. I don't want anything from you. In other words, I'm serving you with no expectations. So this is an important point, that a Vaishnav doesn't want anything from Krishna. And they don't even mind going through many difficulties for Krishna, just like Hanuman and Arjuna. They didn't pray. Krishna fulfills the desires of his devotees. So from their life, they went through so many problems. So many problems. Beginning to end was problems, practically. So we can glean from their example that they must have not been praying for Krishna to remove their problems, because else they would have been removed. In other words, they didn't care about that. They just wanted to serve Krishna. So Prahlad Maharaj, in the similar mood, he didn't want anything from Nrsingadev, but Nrsingadev insisted. And then Prahlad Maharaj said, okay, one thing you could give me is that please deliver my father. Please deliver my father. So, in Prahlad Maharaj, it said he's an ocean of mercy, devotee ocean of mercy. And they are extremely disturbed and unhappy with the fallen conditions, with the state of the fallen conditioned souls. So in other words, a devotee's chief concern, as it says here in the last line of the purport, a devotee's chief concern means the overriding concern of a Vaishnava is to deliver the fallen souls, to somehow think how and to act in such a way as that they become delivered. So Prahlad Maharaj, he's a great example of that, and he has so many nice prayers. And it says that Prahlad Maharaj, one devotee asked Srila Prabhupada that it seems that you're in the mood of Prahlad Maharaj, and Prabhupada said yes. I am in the mood of Prahlad Maharaj. She said, I'm always trying to deliver these fools and rascals who have forgotten Krishna. Who said, I'm in the mood of Prahlad Maharaj, trying to help, the conditioned souls. So in our own way, we want to come to the point where we're willing to sacrifice our lives for the betterment of humanity, of people in general. And even if it means we have to suffer. So we want to come to that platform. And lastly, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prahlad Maharaj was incarnated as Vasudev Dutt. So Vasudev Dutt, he was pained by seeing the suffering of all the conditioned souls. So he asked Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he said, let me take all the sinful reactions, all the karma of all the souls within the universe. Means the animals and the plants and the humans. That's a lot of sinful reactions. That's a lot of karma. And he said, even if I have to suffer into hell perpetually, I don't mind. Just let them go back to Godhead and let me go to hell. That's what his mood was. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, oh, through your humility, you're breaking my heart. And he said, because you are desiring this, and you are my great devotee, and he said, you're incarnation of Prahlad Maharaj, I will deliver all of these souls back to Godhead, and you don't have to suffer in hellish life. You don't have to suffer. So he did both. That he delivered all of them, and he didn't have to suffer. But the point is, Vasudev Dutt, he was willing to suffer for everybody. So it's quite amazing. And that's the mood of Prahlad Maharaj. That's the mood of Prabhupada. So does anybody have any questions or comments?
I have heard that in order to help others, first you have to help yourself or save yourself. I think Srila Prabhupada said that, save yourself and so you can save others. So times we don't feel like, we kind of balance to help others. So how can what you can say and recommend?
Well, we have to become representatives of Krishna, fully representing Krishna, which means that we don't become Krishna, but we become like Krishna. Not completely like Krishna, but to a degree. So we see things from Krishna's perspective. So in other words, we see things from a transcendental perspective, or specifically you could say we see things from the eyes of the scriptures, Bhagavad Gita, srimadbhagavatam. And aside from actually seeing things from Krishna's perspective, from the eyes of scripture, how to deal with this world, how to deal with others, that covers everything, how to deal with this world and deal with others. We have to act in such a way as if when we're preaching to others and trying to help others, as if they should feel in some regard as like Krishna is dealing with them personally. Meaning we're not imitating Krishna, but the kindness that Krishna has for them should manifest through us, because we're representatives of Krishna. And therefore the spiritual master is considered to be a transparent via medium of Krishna means that the spiritual master is always acting in a way that will encourage and nurture and inspire the faith of an individual. So Krishna is an ocean of mercy, so the Vaishnava is also an ocean of mercy. So the more we could actually become Vaishnavas, the more we become representatives of Krishna, the more we'll be able to act in the way we're supposed to act. And it says that for the spiritual master, Prabhupada says this in the purport, he says that in the Bhagavatam, he says that Krishna, he gives the spiritual master unlimited intelligence how to deal with disciples. So yeah, I mean, we need the help of Krishna. We need Krishna's intelligence to help us how to deal with things. And the way we're able to sharpen our intelligence is by hearing the Srimadbhagavatam attentively on a daily basis, and hearing the holy name of Krishna attentively on a daily basis. This is how we sharpen our intelligence. Means Krishna will give us intelligence if we're doing our devotional activities attentively, sincerely. And if, for whatever reason, we're struggling in our spiritual practices and it's very hard to have that intelligence. So the intelligence comes from our strict adherence to sadhana bhakti process of regulated devotional service, hearing and chanting about Krishna. So the more we become advanced in Krishna consciousness, the less we will feel fatigued in dealing with trying to help others, trying to preach, trying to help others. We won't feel tired. It's not like, oh, this guy, and oh, this problem, this problem, this problem. Okay, it's natural that we feel some fatigue and some... Even Prabhupada was sometimes disturbed of the activities of his disciples, and he would, express that externally. But anyways, the main point is that we should try to come to the point where we're completely in love with Krishna, and because we're in love with Krishna, that means we want to fulfill Krishna's desires, and one of Krishna's desires is to try to help people. So, does anybody have any other questions or comments? Oh yeah, I wanted to say my nephews were here the other day at the Krishna Lounge. I thought this was kind of funny, and they sat right in front. One's 5 and one's 7. The 5-year-old Clayton, I asked him after the kirtan, I said, so how did you like the kirtan? And he said, really fast with his thumb, he went, thumbs up. No, he said it was great, and he went, thumbs up. And then he said 2 thumbs up. And then he said, actually, 1,000 thumbs up. And then he said, actually, 2,000 thumbs up. I said, okay. And then I was thinking of Rupa Goswami. I was thinking, 2,000, because he was, Rupa Goswami wants thousands and millions of tongues and ears so he could relish the, nectar of the holy names. I think Javita Prabhu wants it.
Is there a possibility or a plan of like someday trying to fix these mics?
We got to tech with our. We got to
check with our tech.
Yeah, check with our tech devotees, Tapas and Janardhan.
Right. I know they've worked on it, but it's hard. So, the first child in the movement was Malati's daughter, Saraswati. So she grew up. She was born back in the movement. Then she becomes a little, and they're traveling. So this is for you, Invanya. This is for you. So listen. So this little girl, she would preach. She's 4 years old or whatever, barely able to talk or doesn't know much, And she would go to everybody and say, do you know who was Krishna? The Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Prabhupada said this is what her form of preaching, And he said, she's preaching, she's doing perfect, In other words, whatever level we're at, if you just give someone the holy name, Hare Krishna, or some prasadam, or of course a book is best, you know. You don't have to be a big scholar, you don't have to be very pure, you have an opportunity to preach. And that pleases Krishna so that you become purer and more potent as you do that. So this is how the movement goes on and spreads, actually. So but it's true, one has to have at least that desire, you know, that, okay, I want to help this person, I have something very valuable. I may not be so pure, but I could be a vehicle for Prabhupada's books or prasadam.
Yeah. Sure. All right.